to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for the beautiful weather that you've given us, just for all the many blessings that we each have each day. To live in a country where we're free and able to speak our thoughts and have them give them concern. And we ask that you be with us tonight during this meeting. Help it to go orderly and help us to accomplish great things. All these things we pray in your name. Amen.
I'd like to welcome our guests and visitors here tonight, and we'll entertain a motion to consider approving the minutes from the May 2nd meeting. There is one item that we need to make sure is clear, item 9B in the minutes. It was a little bit confusing, and I heard something, and I think that we have confirmed what I thought I heard, but the motion was Mr. Beresford's motion to determine the city council position on discussing consolidating fire services with Cherokee County. I heard no's and I heard one yes at that time. And I should have went back, I guess, had I thought there might have been any question about it and asked for a show of hands, but I did not do it. So Susan, the city clerk, did not hear all the no's and yes or whatever, you know. So I believe it's been confirmed. There was 2 yeses, I believe Mr. Rush and Mr. Beresford and Mr. Bryan, Mr. Huffman, Mr. Goodwin, Mr. Cummings were no's. So I would ask that be corrected in the minutes as we approve them right now. So is there anything else that should be corrected or amended in those minutes? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve them as amended then.
So moved.
Got a motion, second. Any other discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All members voting for the motion. Okay, entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Yes.
Make a motion to approve the agenda with the following exceptions: D, E, under old business, D, E, F, and G, move them to the consent agenda upon the request of the city manager.
Okay. Any other recommendations? That just moves those items to the consent agenda, D, E, F, and G. If anybody wants those off, any of those off for discussion, further discussion, we can do that. But we have a motion and a second. Any other agenda changes or recommend? Okay. If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All members voting for the motion. D, E, F, and G are moved to the consent agenda. Our next item is a 10-minute public input. We have 3 individuals here. Mr. Rush, John Rush.
Mayor, Council, I just wanted to take a minute to thank you and the City Council for creating the Vision for Canton 2050 Commission. I want to thank Glenn Cummins for appointing me to that commission, and thanks to each of you for your 20 other nominees. They'll all bring a unique perspective to our commission. I want to thank the 7-person executive committee that nominated me for chairman, and all of the members for electing me chairman, Ben Key vice chairman, and Candace Walker-Blunda for volunteering to be our secretary. Also, special thanks to Susan Stanton for helping to set up the first of the 2 meetings. The first meeting was more organizational and to vote and set up leadership roles. It took place about 6 weeks ago. The second meeting took place Tuesday, May 14th, and was intended to be a brainstorming session. It was not a brainstorming session, and and we will try again on June 11, 2013 at 6:30 here in City Council chambers. Participation in our brainstorming session for a vision for Canton 2050 is a little like trying to make an airplane out of a cloud. I think you have to go up there so you can see what could be as opposed to what is here on the ground. And what we're trying to do is really have the creativity and freedom from, we can't do that, we don't have this, whatever. And then of course, we're going to come back to reality. We're trying to go from A to Z, A today, Z is 2050, and we realize first step will be B, and we're going to come back to you whenever our recommendations come and say, this is what we plan, this is what we see in the future, and here's the first step we would like to recommend to the City Council to take in that direction. I have never been more excited about the future of Canton, and will periodically report back to the progress of this commission to you here at City Council. Thank you again.
Thank you. T.J. Copper.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Susan, Mr. Wood. Good to see you all tonight. Just wanted to let everybody know and remind you about the Canton Festival of the Arts, which is this weekend in your front yard, right here in front of the building. We're very, very excited about it. This is our 10th year of the Canton Festival of the Arts, and it was designed to help bring people into the city of Canton. We usually range between 10 and 15,000 people into the festival every year, and we're very, very excited about it. We have lots of things to look for. We have over 80 vendors total. We have over 70 of those in the artist market alone. So we've grown our artist market this year. We've grown our Serenity Gardens. There's going to be 10 or so artists in that area for Serenity Gardens. That's the living green, the plants and things like that. The plants that are going to be for sale in Serenity Gardens, all proceeds of that go back to the Cherokee Art Center. So that's kind of our little fundraising part of it. We're going to have live music and entertainment on the city stage, sitting right back here on the back of the building. We're going to have a literary festival that will have regional and national artists coming in, talking about their books, doing reading and having their books available for signing. Lots of things going on. We have a children's area, a children's experience, which helps promote our Camp Imagine, which is going to basically be right in the playground section. And we'll be creating the 2013 community mural as well, where the kids will have the opportunity to paint that mural. And so lots of stuff going on. We're very excited about it. But I wanted to come and personally thank you all and the city for all that you do to help support this, because it would not happen without the support of the city. And so wanted to thank you, wanted to invite you to come out to it. We also have the artist reception at 7 p.m. in the Cherokee Arts Center Saturday evening. That is where we give out the awards for the artists, because it's a juried show. So that's where we give out the awards to those artists who won the juried portion of the show, and I would love for you all to be in attendance to that. So you are more than welcome to come. We'd love to have you. Thank you again for your support, and I just want to put on record a couple of people, city employees, who have been a huge help to us. And so if I may have your leisure for just a moment. Scott Wood, city manager, has been a huge, huge benefit to us for helping put this together. We couldn't do it without you, and we really appreciate everything you do for us. Your executive assistant, Donna Bell, has also been a huge help to us, always answers the phone when we call, and she's been a huge help to us. Camille Ways has been a huge help to us, even up till today, where we still had some ants out there that she got for us after somebody got attacked. But the entire streets department, David Kenjimi and his entire crew, they do a lot of work to get this park ready to go, get the grass cut, kill the ants, things like that. And without those employees, we couldn't do it. So we want to thank them. Scott Buckner, who helps us with our electricity needs, and Teresa Fitz as well for everything that she does for us. So you guys have a great staff. We love working with them. And we just want to thank you for your continued support of this program over the past 10 years. So thank you.
Thank you.
Clay Cowley.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and apologize up front. I'm nervous, and I have a lot of things on my mind. I'm going to try to keep it to the point and matter of fact, and I apologize also if I do hurt anybody's feelings, because that's not my intention whatsoever. I got put in touch with Mr. Beresford because I had a desire to give something to Canton, because I felt like maybe I had something to give, or maybe there weren't enough people to give. And I feel like now the second part of that was not correct, that I feel like there are a lot of people in Canton that want to help and want to be part of it. They're out of the loop, and from talking to people, what I've found out is that they don't know what's going on, for whatever reason, fault of their own or fault of ours, yours, for, I'm not sure. I don't know where the fault lies, but I know a lot of people don't know what's going on here. My biggest pet peeve, or not really a pet peeve, but my biggest concern is the fire service of Canton. I live here, and I know a lot about it. I've been in the fire service and public safety in Cherokee County for 23 years. I've seen it. I've seen all the problems come and go. And what I found out from being around that is you hear what goes on here, and you hear what goes on at the fire station and other places. And I was hoping to come here and come to these council meetings and not see what I hear other people talk about. And this is where I apologize for, is that it seems like there's a lot of adversity here. And you folks were not asked or nominated to be in this position to come here and argue semantics every week that you meet, every time that you meet. You all are supposed to have the interest of me and my family and every other citizen of Canton in your best interest. Not whether you like the other person that's presenting it, because that's what I've seen since I've been here, is that there's a couple of people that seem to bully the situation and get down to every little jot and tittle of every rule that there is, instead of working for the betterment of Canton. That's why I came here to ask you all to put your differences aside and do what's best for me. I am willing to do with very little time that I have to help in any way that I can with the deal with the fire service. I don't think the citizens of Canton understand that they're getting robbed. They're going to get robbed of millions of dollars of assets if this thing is not addressed and fixed. Millions of dollars of assets. You're going to go back in time where we're at Canton is at an ISO rating of 4 now, and just going to a 5. I called my insurance company and asked them. My insurance is going to go up $300 a year, just going to an ISO 5, if my house stays in a 5 district going into Cherokee County, because it will not stay a 4. I'm asking that you people make this a priority. From what I understand, there's a deadline coming to this agenda, to this problem, and it needs to be addressed. And every time that I've been here and found any information about why it hasn't moved ahead, it's been trivial. And the vote that happened, a couple of months ago, and 700 people, 3%, less than 4% of the population of Canton voted. They didn't know about it. Nobody I knew asked about it. And the ones that I did know had no idea that it's about to cost them $1,000 a year and get lesser of a service in the emergency department. So I'm offering any help that I can to I don't know, give any input that anybody would like to have on any of this. I'm here to help, but I'm telling you what I've seen is a lot of bickering and disservice to the citizens of Canton with not making any progress that comes to the board here. thank you for your time, and like I said, I apologize. The intentions of my heart are well, I promise you. So if there's anything I can do to help, just let me know.
Thank you. Okay. On the consent agenda, I will read those items, and if anyone wants any of those removed for further discussion, just let me know. Approval of CDBG subrecipient agreements. That's A. B is approval of Brown Street / Bobby Bishop water line and road improvement as a CDBG project. Item C, approval of health care resolution for cafeteria plan. And we jump down to what, 8D, action regarding approval for mayor to sign the Marietta Road construction contract with CMES. The next one is action regarding approval for mayor to sign parking study contract with Richard Associates. The next one, action regarding approval for mayor to sign Heritage Park master plan contract with AMEC. And the last item is action regarding approval for mayor to sign Heritage Park stream restoration contract with Aquascape Environmental. Do any of those need to come off of the consent agenda? Okay. If not, we have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All members voting for the motion. All right, now under old business, this second reading on the Bailey Settlement Agreement Budget Amendment. You had that, it was discussed at the last meeting, and does anyone have any other discussion regarding that? Otherwise, we will consider that well, this is second reading, so we'll need to vote on this one.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. I have a second. Any other discussion or comment? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All members voting for the motion. Item B, the second reading of the ordinance for the fire services feasibility study budget amendment. We have been over that a time or two, especially at the last meeting, and this had the first reading the last meeting, and now this is the last meeting, and it will require a vote.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second. Second. Any other discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
All members voting for the motion with the exception of Mr. Cummings. Okay. Item C, first reading of the ordinance to increase the mayor and council compensation. Mr. Beresford, this is the first reading.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Sir?
I said, yes, sir, thank you.
Okay. You have any other comments you want to make about it? Since your name is on it, that's what I thought. Yeah, sure.
Just so everybody's on the same page, to comply with state law on this, second reading will have to be at the second meeting in June to allow us to do the 3 required notices. We have to do it the 3 weeks preceding the week that we approve, take final action.
Okay.
So the second reading will have to be at the second meeting in June.
Well, basically, this is something, I mean, I haven't made a secret exactly how I feel about the increase in compensation. It's not that I actually oppose the change, because I quite honestly feel like, we are down the line away compared to most. Nevertheless, I still, feel that it's probably not the right timing for it. We've had several years back that our employees have got very little pay increase over the last 6 or 8 years. And quite honestly, I would much rather see us take that money as an increase, divided equally among all our employees, just as a means of saying thank you for what you've done and what you do, and thank you for sticking with us through some very, very tough economic times. I mean, this is, it's been tough. And I just feel like it sends sort of the wrong message for the council to look to approve itself a 300% increase when our employees have been pretty much denied increases for many of the several of the last few years anyway. So, but anyway, that's just how I feel about it. So, and this is the first reading. Is there any other comments? Yes, sir.
Being that you've made some comments, I'll make some comments.
Sure.
As far as I know, you talk about how long it's been since this subject has come up. I know for a fact it probably has been over 6 years that this council has operated, looked at, and probably long before that with this current compensation package. I understand what you're saying about the city employees, and I think that's some item that this council will look seriously at the budget this year and see what we can do to help alleviate our good employees and see if we can't give them some sort of compensation. That really doesn't have anything to do with what this is asking. Tying it in, I think, as you just did, tries to relate to it. And I think you hit on a key point. And I'd like to have you, because I know when we get ready to vote on this, you're going to veto it, which is your prerogative. And what I would really think would be a bigger photo op for you is to say that you will not take the $10,000 and you'll take $1 a year for your compensation. And I think that would be appropriate. And I'd like to hear you step up on that.
Mr. Canton?
The last meeting we discussed this, and Mr. Bryant, I brought up the point that I didn't want to vote for a increase for myself. Mr. Bryant made the point, which is accurate, that any council voting for this, there would always be 3 council members voting for an increase. And I gave it a lot of thought, and I'm not against increasing compensation for future councils, but I am against increasing mine. And therefore, I would like to see the ordinance pass, but with an effective date of January 1st, 2016. And that would mean that Mr. Goodwin, Mr. Huffman, and you, Mayor, and myself would not be in a position of having to vote for our own increases. And your idea that you're bringing up of taking that money, apparently that money is available in 2014. I like that idea of maybe giving a little extra Christmas bonus, maybe around the middle of November to the employees. That might be a good idea rather than giving it to me. So in that respect, I would agree with the ordinance effective the January of 2016 so that it applies to all future councils and none of us here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I just want to remind us all that the council has voted and approved that the retirement program that the council has had in the past will now go away, which was a big savings for the city. And I hope that the majority of that will indeed, when the budget time comes around, will go to the employees. And so it's not that the council hasn't given to the city, because that was a $65,000 cut in insurance premiums. So it's not that the council has not recognized that we don't feed as much. But at the same time, I would like to indicate that there is a plus side to doing this. And I think there's 2 of us here on the council that still work. And we still would like to have more diversity in our council members, as well as in age too. And we've got to have some type of incentive in order to get people who truly want to give to the city, but have a little bit more difficult time making that decision to go out and actually spend their money to go out and run for a council position, because it's not a lot of money, but I spent about $3,000 to run for this position. So to get a young person who has a family and has a house note, a car note, and to come and volunteer basically for a city council position, you're asking an awful lot. And I think that is a good side of doing this. And Mr. Cummings, I'm not opposed to putting the date to the 16th. That doesn't matter to me. But I just want everybody to understand that the council has given already this year by giving up that one benefit. And possibly will be given more. That it's not that the council has not.
Mr. Cummings?
He's correct on the pension. The only thing I say, to add to that, that was applicable only to future councils also. So, and again, we didn't change our structure or anything. All we did is say future councils would not have that benefit. And that's all I'm trying to do, is put it to that we're not in a position of voting for ourselves an increase, but we are in a position of saying that it's probably justified, and for councils moving forward, let's put it, if we're going to vote it now, let's put a date of 2016, and then all future councils can have it.
Anyone else? Yes.
Question, can we do that? Or are we now obligating the future council?
You're not obligating them, because they could change it at any time. They could change that. So, I mean, if it came to them and they said, we really don't want to do this, they could vote to change it, I would say.
Yes.
One question.
Yes.
More a question than a comment to Bobby, and you may have to research this, but would it be possible to split the increase somehow to where it would apply to any newly elected people immediately, but anybody that's on the council currently would not receive it till 16?
That's not what the law says. Now, whether you could do it, sure, you can do it, and maybe somebody will sue you to stop you from doing it. But the law says it takes effect on the January after the next election. So it's not even a term thing. It applies to everybody in January.
I'm wondering if we could then approve it, but then just agree that any of us that are not, or that are still on the council, just don't take the raise or give it back to the city. I'm sure the city would accept a donation, just a gentleman's agreement that we'll give it back. My only concern with putting it off is that we are going to discourage people that would really, the $8,000 versus the $2,000 would make a difference for younger people or people of limited means. And I just want to not discourage everybody to run. That could be. So if there's some way we could do that, some sort of a compromise, just everybody agree, we're just not going to take the raise if we're here, give it to the new people.
Anyone else?
A question.
Yes.
Bobby, do we need to make that date in there somewhere then? Then we have to go for another reading?
No, we can modify it by making it effective, changing the effective date without.
So we still
starting
have
over.
first reading though.
Right, it's just the first reading. We can modify it before the second reading. And either way, we can say it takes effect, but not for any current council member or effective January 1st, 2000.
But didn't you say that's against what you perceive to be the law?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd have to give some thought to see whether it's prohibited. I mean, the law just says it can't take effect until then. I don't know off the top of my head when I think about whether you can tweak that. Because you can still be compliant with state law and saying it doesn't take effect until January 1st, 2015, except it still doesn't apply, 2014, because you may have a newly elected person at this year's election that it would begin for. the problem when you'd have different compensation. I think that would be the problem.
Another question you
Now that I
said,
think it through, you'd end up with different people with different compensation, and I don't think you can.
I
do
don't
that.
think it would.
and if you had somebody that ran and won with the idea that they were gonna be, paid that, and then the council decided not to, well, you know, I think it's a crazy what ifs, but
Get going. Anything else?
I'd just like the date to be 2016, and that takes Mr. Huffman, Mr. Goodwin, and me off the spot of voting for an increase for ourselves. I mean, I won't vote for an increase for myself.
It takes everybody off.
That takes everybody off, and the way I read the law, and you can correct me, is that all we need to have before it takes effect is a general election. It doesn't say 1 or 2 general elections, but it does say a general election must occur before it takes effect.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it says next.
Yeah, because there's two criteria. One, you can't vote it during the election season, which starts in August, and the other criteria is it can't go into effect until a new council has taken office.
I don't think waiting for 2 elections would be a problem.
No, I don't either,
I don't
the
think.
way I read it.
All right. Any other thoughts? We have the first reading.
So,
I'd like to add a chance, you know,
Is
because
there
that gets changed.
any direction about
Nobody
changing? I
has.
can put 2 versions on the agenda.
All right, put 2 versions, and then we can vote for it.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Let's see. Okay, Mr. Beresford, update on the Etowah River Park, is that, am I, that's the right one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Jump right down there to it.
Okay.
Got rid of a bunch. I think you received in your packet, or somewhere, the sketch of the amphitheater. Yes. And on the amphitheater, it had plans for pavers. And the pavers were nice, they had a great look to them, but the only people that would see it would be individuals who are up on the stage area, other than some citizens during other times walk up and look at it, but it's very intricate and very costly. And I would like to propose to the council that would give me authority to get back to the county and construction company and say, we'll do away with the pavers and we'll use just brushed concrete in place of that, and we're looking at a savings of around $20,000 roughly.
I certainly would agree with that. I think that's a good move.
Now, we will have pavers in other areas, and it'll be by the sketch, you'll see, there are some pavers down lower where people can look at it, walk around, and it ties into the roundabout, and ties into some other areas that we have. But this right here, now, what I asked, can I get approval so I can get back to them and say, let's make the change order and save the money.
That's fine.
Anybody have any objection, or we need a motion for that?
That's gonna be a change order to vote on.
Yeah, it'll be a change order vote. Does anyone have any objection to that? If not, consider that done. And then we'll have a change order vote on it. Eventually, if it comes through, when it comes through, I
So,
assume.
well, it won't.
It won't? Okay.
The county, all the county is asking us is say approval. And they'll handle the change order within their system.
Okay, then we need a vote on it.
Because we don't get it here. So everybody said, okay.
Well, now, if they need something to show approval, you're gonna have to vote with minutes.
Where
Would be
does the
fine.
$20,000 go then?
Pardon?
That we're saving, where does the $20,000 go?
It goes to where we're in the hole, and we're trying to work.
So
on
we
it.
have other change orders to make up for it.
Well,
$20,000 we're not gonna spend.
$20,000 we aren't gonna spend, so it goes right to the fund. And at the end of the construction, if there's any money left over, the county will give us a check back.
I guess I'm a little confused, which I stated a lot, but how do we approve change orders or not? Do we not approve any of the change orders that's going on there? The county does all that. And the only way they're gonna know whether we accept those change orders is for us to vote.
Just make a statement.
It looks to me like they would need to forward a copy of their change orders if it were affecting our part for our approval, to be voted on, so that they'd have,
All they want to hear from us is say, yeah, it's a great idea, let's save the 20,000. It might be a little more, a little less, but it's a rough number, 20,000. They're responsible for the construction, we're not. We're not. And that's where a lot of that money that we looked at when we said the administrative costs, that's where the administrative cost is coming in.
but just so that they know that if we concur with that, we probably should vote to put that in the minutes.
Put it in the minutes, and that's perfect.
Why don't we just have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we remove the pavers from the amphitheater in estimate of savings 20,000.
Motion second. Any other discussion or questions? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I would like that. All members voted for the motion. You can go ahead and add something there.
No, the question is, tagging on what Mr. Cummings said is, John, how do we know on that $20,000? Is there any way that we can see that $20,000 and how it's saving us?
Yeah. Anytime you want to come out and sit down and go through the accounting on it, come ahead. It's being documented.
That's all I'm asking, is it being documented? I know we're just.
It's been documented triply. It is. And being that it is, quote, our part, we have to say, okay. Now, you guys didn't vote on the change order for the soil concrete that we have to put out there. The reason we have to put soil concrete out there, you got these pictures. If you look on those pictures, as you well know, that this park is in a floodplain. And the old park there was a sod farm. That soil out there is not stable. So what we had to do in the parking areas, where the parking lots will be, we have to bring in soil concrete. That was a change order. Every time the change order comes up, we had to do a change order. We had to put in a new valve on Wednesday. We've had to move the power lines a couple of times. All of that is accounted for. Our money is $3.1 million. That's what we're working with. So, I mean, anytime you want to come and take a look at it and see what's going on, fine. But I'm just saying, it's very open. But there are things going on out there all the time that change from what we originally looked at. But we're still going to get the same part. And, as I said, at the end of the rainbow, if there's any money left, we'll get it back from the county. They'll give us a check.
Yes, I'm not trying to be argumentative about it. I know there's a lot of things going on, and it's a very large project, and that there will, as expected, to be changes. All I'm just saying is that a little bit more information, I guess, when those changes are, or somebody says $20,000, and a year from now we say, where is it all? Do we really know? Just maybe a paper trail is a better description.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
I think I got to thank Mr. Beresford. He's done an excellent job on this park, and I think clearer, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Beresford, or I'm not talking to him, but he can correct me if he wants to. But when you do these projects, you have change orders that increase the price, and therefore you try to find change orders that'll offset those that increase it. And I would think that this is a change order to reduce the cost of the amphitheater, the paving in there, to offset probably change orders we've had in other areas where the cost has increased.
Correct.
There you go.
About $107,000 for the soil concrete. But the good news is we had a contingency fund in there to pick up any of the undue stuff. We're getting closer on that contingency fund. This just threw another 20,000 back into it so we can move ahead with progress.
So are they keeping a record of that contingency like that? That's all we can.
Okay, absolutely. No, not trying to, absolutely. Hey,
We're not trying to bust you out.
no, I understand that. The thing is, this administrative cost that we all kind of shook our heads over, and I can't recall right now off the top of my head, but I'd figure it was close to $400,000 right off the top of that $9 million was administrative costs. I remember it was close.
6%, wasn't it?
6%.
6%, I believe it was.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I see how that's being utilized. It is a major bookkeeping process that's going on. We had a meeting out there this morning, and we had the power company out there. We've got excellent power company stepped up. We were looking at, Joby, can you throw me the number? What we were looking at, the power company?
60,000.
60,000. And they gave it to us for nothing. So they're working. They're working. So we're trying to do the best we can.
Anyone else have any questions? The next item is discussion of the dirt relocation for Laurel Canyon Fire Station site. I think that was in the management letter from Mr. Wood. Does anyone else have any comments?
I do, because in one of the questions I had, and we've been talking about this, I've been talking about this for the 3 years that I've been on council. And I noticed in Mr. Joby's or Mr. West's report that the city started grading the property in 2008. Now they say we haven't completed our negotiations with the owners of the adjacent property as far as getting rid of the excess dirt. And my question is, have we been negotiating for 5 years? I mean, who are the owners, North Korea? I mean, that's the question I have. Have we been negotiating for 5 years to try and get the dirt moved over, or was there a gap in between? But, you know, the city made a promise to the people in Great Sky and developers of Laurel Canyon that they're going to build a fire station there, and we've been talking about buying other property, but we just bought property for the Bluffs. We paid $300,000 for it. If it's going to cost us $100,000 to move dirt, we can't buy another piece of property for that. And we need to do the fire station, and I think we should just, you know, bite the bullet if we can't get it. It seems to me we can camp out on the doorstep of the people we're trying to negotiate with and either get a yes or a no and then know what to do. But just to sit here and wait for Godot is not the best way to operate.
Anyone else? Mr. Bishop?
The last figure on the dirt was roughly 100,000 to haul it.
Let me, as best I can, speak to the whole issue, because Mr. Rush is partly right. The issue was identified and began to be addressed in 2008, which was before most of us were even here. Plans were, architectural plans were designed for that building in 2008. The building was bid out in 2008 with bid quotes coming in between 1.1 million and 1.7 or 8 million, exclusive of the dirt. The city, from the records I can identify, the city bid out relocation of the dirt to to the adjoining property, and that cost came in at $122,000. There were approximately 56,000 cubic yards of excess dirt on the site. Approximately 6,000 cubic yards were relocated. I wasn't here. I don't know why that was discontinued. I don't know. I do know, and I've said this before, but it bears repeating, that in April of 2010, I made a PowerPoint presentation in this room urging council to go forward then with building that station, and that fell on deaf ears. So there clearly have been some lapses in addressing the entire issue, not just the dirt, but the fire station, period. Ms. Clardy, Mr. West's predecessor, also a professional engineer, told us in a written email in 2010 that the cost to locate that dirt to any site with some assumptions, because you don't know what your hauling distance would be until you identified your new relocation site, she estimated in the $300,000 range. That was in 2010. Again, nothing has advanced beyond that. There was not any progress or direction or authorization or budgetary appropriation coming from council to address it one way or another. It has admittedly been addressed intermittently. Since the new renewed interest in that fire station has resurfaced, Mr. West has taken a particular interest in trying to discuss with the adjoining property owners the level of agreement they would have in relocating that dirt onto their site. One thing council needs to be considerate of is that Chief Floyd has gotten two estimates. I'm not going to say they're bids, they're not. Has gotten estimates from two recognizable local contractors based on replicating our south side station on that site, which I'm told is about 6,000 square feet. Those cost estimates came in between $110 and $130 a square foot. So if you take $120 as an average per square foot, multiply that times $6,000, that'd be $720,000. That does not include any multiple purpose application of that building. We don't have but plus or minus $400,000 of fire services money under the current SPLOST program to spend on a new building. If we spend $720,000 for the 6,000 feet, plus we want to qualify that building for general government building SPLOST funding, it's going to have a multiple purpose application. Just using a number of 1,500 square feet for a community room at the same per square foot rate, you're talking about an additional $180,000. So you're going to be in the $900,000 range there. Again, you've not addressed the dirt problem. The dirt problem could be anywhere from $100,000 to $300,000, depending on where you relocated the dirt to. So you're in the $1 million to $1.2 million range. Joby, do you want to address any further the status of the dirt? The dirt's not a surprise. Somebody said to me today they thought from the newspaper article we were surprised. No, we're not surprised. We've known we had a dirt problem for years.
Yeah, I would like to make a couple of statements to try and help answer Mr. Rush's question. Best of my knowledge is the way that contract was set up when they began to do the clearing and the grading was they got a set price to move the dirt to the adjacent properties on the condition that it was done while this grading company was there and prior to more than 75% of the completion of the Laurel Canyon Village site was mass graded. In other words, once that site got more than 75% mass graded, they felt like if our dirt wasn't moved at that point, then they were out of the contract. So basically, we stalled it somehow, or we quit on the project somehow. Now our problem is that Laurel Canyon Village is completely mass graded. Well, more than 75% mass graded. The contract was moved out, and that's how I believe it got, the gap. has been-
Joe, was that a different contractor than was doing the grading for the strip center there?
No, it was the same.
The same one.
And that's
You
the
know,
reason, that's part of the reason why, if they, you know, if we can do it while we're here, we've got all this fairground, we can mix it in, do it all at once, here's your price.
But Joby, speak to what efforts you have put forth to have the dirt relocated to the adjoining site.
Well, we have been in contact with the adjacent property owners. We have tried to, there's a slope easement that's required on that property, regardless of whether they accept the dirt or not. We got to slope back into their property, regardless, if we take the dirt somewhere else or we put it on their site. But we've got to deal with these owners of this property regardless. So we have made contact several times through emails, phone calls, really to no avail. So right now, we have gotten in touch with a developer at Laurel Canyon to be kind of a liaison between us and these property owners. And he is on our behalf trying to facilitate getting these agreements signed as of right now.
We can't force these people to let us put our dirt on their property. They're either agreeable to it or they're not, and thus far, they've not been agreeable. They've not necessarily been disagreeable, but they've not been agreeable to the degree that it allowed us to do it. Now, if council wants the dirt moved, we can have the dirt moved. You just need to be prepared to anticipate probably a $300,000 plus or minus cost in doing so. But if council wants to give us that authorization, we can get the dirt moved. We're not the holdup. Dollars are the holdup.
And I would like to add something to that. Finding a place for the dirt is not the key factor either. The key factor is loading, hauling, trucking. That's the key. If you go 30 minutes round trip versus 45, you're still, that's the problem when you start putting it in the trucks versus moving it with heavy equipment.
And I do-
Off-road equipment from one side to the other.
I'm sorry, I mean,
No, that's-
I do know that between Mr. West and Mr. Patton both, they have made contact with grading contractors. They've made contact, I think, with the Builders Council, asking if anybody wants dirt. I have personally made contact, or at least indirectly, through an associate of the person who owns a good bit of the property directly across the Canton Marketplace. We all know that that drops off considerably back there. And he basically said, do you want some dirt? But thus far, we've not located anybody who wants the dirt.
Scott?
I guess we just, shortly before we voted for study to find out how we would fund all this, and we're already talking about using a specific method to fund. I think we're sort of putting the cart before the horse. We should wait until this, Mr. Rush's, I think it's EPG consultants come back and tell us how to fund it. I don't think we want to be going and using general SPLOST money and then increasing the size of the building. And I definitely don't want to spend $300,000 to move dirt if I can look for another location that might be there. We don't know, we have not come to a definitive answer as to how we're going to provide those fire services. We still have disagreements amongst council as to what the best method is, and we're undertaking steps now. Mr. Rush is doing some, and I'm doing some on the other side that have to do with potential consolidation, either on a hybrid basis or on a full basis or whatever it is. I think just to go ahead and move the dirt now is premature.
Let me ask a question to follow up on what Mr. Rush had said there. What means of communication, I guess, are really being used to contact the people that have the property next door? Is someone set up an appointment with them to sit down and talk to them, or are you unable to get a response at all?
It's my understanding that the partner who handles the day-to-day, or not, the day-to-day operations of the negotiations, since he lived in Florida, therefore, we have had a little trouble getting him on the phone or back and forth. So then we trying to get this Mr. Edwards, who is a developer, and there's a developer in Long Canton who has more success getting him on.
Do we even know if the guy's alive?
Oh yeah, we know. He is alive. And all signs point to that they're agreeable to this, but we're just kind of understanding.
Joby, just one other question. Is this the same ownership that was there in 2008, or is it changed owners?
I'm gonna say yes, it is, but I couldn't 100% verify that that's the fact. I haven't found anything to the contrary.
Anyone else? Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Do you have anything other than, do you have anything other than a report or other than what you sent out?
Let me mention one or two things real quick, please, sir. We did receive notification yesterday from GIFA that our 2 loan applications, one for the $300,000 emergency funding for the Harmon Field lift station, which, by the way, that work we hope will be completed next week. But that, and then the other for the $7.5 million, I think, wasn't it, Nathan, $7.5 million for the wastewater treatment plant upgrades. Both of those loan applications have been approved by GIFA. So we'll need to be processing the paperwork in the coming days as that becomes available to us. It may be that the $300,000 emergency fund application will need to be approved by council prior to the $7.5 million, if that's what we want to do on the wastewater treatment plant. Ratification of that may come subsequent. But anyway, all that has progressed as we had hoped. Only other thing, Mr. Mayor, is that I did notice that the first Thursday of July falls on the 4th, and City Hall will be scheduled to be closed that day. So if you and council want to give consideration to an alternate meeting day for the first meeting in July.
Let's put that on the June, first meeting in June agenda to make a decision when we want to do that.
Can I ask Mr. Chairman? Has GIFA stated what our interest rates were going to be in terms or any of that?
Yes, so that was reported to you at the work session here.
Well, it was what we were looking for.
Right, yeah, those are the numbers that have stuck. I think it was 1.4 on one. Nathan, you got them?
Yeah, that's correct, and I have to send like 300,000.
Okay. Yes.
There's one other note in Mr. Wood's letter. I think it deserves a major comment here. We got notification on our ISO rating. Is that correct, Mr. Wood?
Yes, sir.
And what was it?
It's 4.
Just shout it from the rooftop right now. It's 4. 4. We're going to maintain a 4.
I have a question on that.
Yes.
How far are we from a 3?
My recollection is that we scored 68.5. 70 is necessary for a 3.
Wow.
So if we pick up a 1.5, we would go to a 3.
Well, we should do everything possible to get
So one fire station will make us a 3.
that. Would be major.
That's in the top 4% of all fire jurisdictions in the United States of America.
That would be major.
ISO 3.
If we could get a 3, folks,
We'll get
what do you think,
business
Mr.
coming in.
Cummings? Hey, go for a 1 again. Aim for the fire high. What do you think? How about a 3? Would you, would that excite you?
Oh, anything excites me.
Oh.
You know, I'm a happy camper.
Council introduced item.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
It'll be real quick. I just wanted to mention, tonight we unanimously passed 2 large expenditures using stormwater funds. I had a little dust up with a constituent again last week accusing us of stealing from the stormwater fund and a slush fund. These were the 2 things that they said. And I actually read the stormwater ordinance, and I just wanted to point out that it states 5 different times in the stormwater ordinance that it's to use for operational and capital investment, which is what we approved tonight. So I think if any of us on the council had any concern anything we were doing was illegal, we wouldn't have voted for it. But I've got 6 copies of the stormwater ordinance here. I'm gonna leave them here if anybody's interested in actually seeing what our law says about how we're allowed to use stormwater funds or not. And I think we're just all getting kind of tired of being accused of stealing from it and doing illegal things, and I think that clears it up. I've asked the city attorney, that's the only documentation in existence that describes how the stormwater fund should be used, and we have been using it properly. And again, 6 copies, anybody wants to read it.
Anyone else?
Just one comment on his comment, in that in the stormwater ordinance, we're supposed to have a stormwater credit manual that's operational. We still don't have it. We voted on it a year ago, and it's still not been implemented, and we've been asking the stormwater committee to do it, and it still hasn't been done. So, you know, that's something, because the stat credit manual gives the citizens and the businesses in the city an opportunity to reduce their stormwater charges by doing certain things. And whether it's there, and we have to implement it. It's part of the ordinance, and we haven't done
it. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, to follow up on Mr. Rush, is it possible that that's available? We could at least put it on the website if it's not already there?
I think they were rewriting it. Oh, the stormwater committee was rewriting it, and it hasn't, and I brought this up months ago, and it still hasn't been done. So there was one that was implemented that we voted on, but I think they elected to redo it.
Joby's got that. But we talked about it last meeting. We virtually got it redone.
Joby, if you, I know the meetings I've attended there, there's been a point of discussion, and I know one of the last meetings I went to, they went just page by page and section by section, doing some grammatical changes and making some other changes along the way. Where does that stand now?
At our last stormwater advisory meeting, we think we went through and, again, page by page, note by note, and have the final draft ready to be presented to you guys to vote on.
When do you think that would be?
Hopefully, we could probably ask to have it on the agenda next month.
Okay.
That's where we're at.
So now, has the Stormwater Committee voted to approve what the final product that y'all have, or to recommend that?
Well, they haven't voted to approve. We have went through and discussed line by line, back and forth a couple of times. They have been presented the final draft. They haven't made a formal vote to approve. They're not recommending. They can only recommend. Right. So they're not doing. We're required to.
Wouldn't you normally expect that they would just vote among themselves to recommend that this be adopted?
We could ask them to do that. Sure.
Especially since they're the one that's been kind of working through these a lot more than we have, certainly. Okay. That'd be good. Thank you. Anyone else? Jack?
I just want to say that the movie that we presented to the children and adults as well this past month went very well, and the other manager told me that he thinks that he's planning on doing it the first weekend in June, free movie, and everyone should come out. They're very good movies, and there's no charge at all, and it was well attended. I think we had over 100 people who really enjoyed it.
Good, thank you. Anyone else? All right. On the mayor's report, I just want to announce I will be holding a town hall meeting on May the 23rd at 6 o'clock here, and I would anticipate that the fire service will be one of the items among anything else any member of the public wishes to discuss or to convey to
to the mayor and any council members who would like to attend as well. Hopefully it'll be more of a listening type arrangement than anything else, but we do need to hear from them on this and other subjects as well that may be of interest to the public. Heritage Park, we just approved the contract for AMEC to actually look at that park and kind of decide how we can use it more fully. What's the maximum utilization of that park? How can we use it? We know a lot of it's floodplain, probably a floodway too, but how can we use it and get more out of that? There's a lot of acreage right there and just some walking trails that I believe there's room for some other utilization as well, and that's what we need to find out. So hopefully maybe that too could be a point of discussion, and welcome any comments and suggestions or recommendations that anyone might have at that at the town hall meeting. So we certainly encourage as many people as can to come, and we welcome your input, whatever it is. We want to hear from you. Anyone else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion second. Those in favor, aye.